The war had lasted 3 winters. 3 winters of burned villages. 3 winters of empty granaries. 3 winters of sons who never returned home. Princess Alara had watched it all from the high towers of her father's castle. She had seen smoke rising beyond the forests. She had heard the distant echo of horns carried by the wind. And every night, she had prayed for peace. But peace, she would soon learn, always demanded a price. The enemy king had won. Not completely, not gloriously, but decisively enough. Her father's army was exhausted. Their allies had withdrawn support. The treasury was nearly empty. The people were starving. So the king did what desperate rulers have done for centuries. He signed a treaty. And at the bottom of that treaty, beneath wax seals and royal signatures, was a condition. The princess would marry the enemy king. Alara was summoned to the council chamber at dusk. Torches lined the stone walls. The air felt heavy, thick with silence. Her father did not meet her eyes. "It is for the kingdom," he said. That was all. No question. No discussion. A daughter in medieval politics was not a child. She was currency. Her wedding would not be celebrated with music and laughter. It would be watched carefully, by allies, by enemies, by nobles waiting to see whether this fragile peace would hold. She was not asked whether she agreed. She was told when she would leave. That night, she stood alone on the castle balcony. Below her lay the kingdom she had grown up in, the forests where she had ridden horses as a girl, the chapel where her mother had once prayed beside her. She was not afraid of marriage. She was afraid of surrender, because marrying the enemy king did not make him her husband. It made her a symbol of defeat, and she knew symbols rarely live freely. At dawn, she would leave her home forever, not as a bride, but as a guarantee. The journey took 7 days. 7 days through territories that had once been battlefields. Burned farms lined the road. Abandoned armor lay half-buried in mud. The war scars were everywhere. Alara traveled in a guarded carriage, escorted by soldiers from both kingdoms. A silent reminder that trust did not yet exist. Each night, she slept in unfamiliar stone keeps, surrounded by unfamiliar banners. The colors were wrong. The language around her felt harsh and foreign. On the 4th day, they crossed the river that marked the border. No ceremony, no announcement, just a quiet understanding that she now belonged to another crown. When they reached the enemy capital, the castle towers loomed like dark shadows against the sky, larger than her father's, colder. Crowds gathered to watch her arrival. Some stared with curiosity, others with resentment. To them, she was not a princess. She was the daughter of a defeated king. She stepped from the carriage slowly, chin raised, refusing to appear small. The enemy king awaited her in the great hall. He was older than she expected, broad-shouldered, scar across his jaw, eyes that had seen too much war. He did not smile. "You understand why you are here," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," she replied. Their wedding would be held the next morning. No celebration. Only witnesses. Peace was fragile. This marriage was insurance. That night, she sat alone in her assigned chamber. No familiar faces, no comforting voices. She realized something quietly terrifying. She was not just marrying a man. She was entering a court that might never accept her. And if peace failed, she would be the first to suffer. The wedding was brief. No music. No joy. Only obligation. The vows were spoken clearly. The crowns placed upon their heads. Applause echoed in the hall. Polite. Restrained. And just like that, she became queen. But titles can be deceiving. Alara quickly learned she had little authority. The enemy court watched her closely. Every word she spoke was analyzed. Every gesture interpreted. Some nobles believed she was a spy. Others thought she would try to manipulate the king. So she chose silence. She observed. She listened during council meetings. She studied the kingdom's weaknesses. The food shortages, the political rivalries, the unrest among border lords. Her husband, the king, remained distant, respectful but cautious. He had not wanted this marriage either. It had been a strategic decision. Two rulers bound by necessity. One night, during a private dinner, he finally spoke openly. "I do not hate your people," he admitted. "War made us enemies." She looked at him carefully. "And peace makes us what?" He paused. "Responsible." For the first time, she saw not a conqueror, but a ruler burdened by consequences. Perhaps this marriage was not only about control. Perhaps it was about survival. Peace never lasts quietly. Within a year, rebellion stirred in her homeland. Some nobles refused to accept the treaty. They claimed she had betrayed her father's kingdom. Whispers reached the enemy court. "She cannot be trusted. She will side with her blood." Her husband faced pressure. Advisors urged him to imprison her, just in case. Instead, he confronted her privately. "If your homeland rises against me, where will you stand?" It was the question she had feared. She could not betray her father, but she could not destroy the fragile peace either. So she did something unexpected. She offered to travel to the border and negotiate directly with the rebels. A dangerous move. If they rejected her, she would lose everything. But if she succeeded, she would prove her loyalty not to one crown, but to stability itself. Her journey back to the border was tense. Rebels gathered in secret halls. Swords rested on tables during negotiations. She spoke calmly. "If war returns, more sons will die. More kingdoms will burn. And I will not allow that to happen in my name." Silence followed. Then slowly, grudgingly, they agreed to stand down. She returned not as a hostage, but as a mediator. And for the first time, the enemy court began to respect her. Years passed. The peace held. Trade routes reopened. Harvests improved. Children grew up knowing stories of war, not witnessing it. Alara's marriage had begun as a transaction, but it became something more complicated. Not romance, not fairy tale love, but partnership. She gained influence gradually, advising on alliances, encouraging reforms, bridging communication between two cultures that had once only known bloodshed. When her father died, she mourned quietly. She was no longer his daughter alone. She was queen of two legacies. Looking back, she understood something profound. She had never been given a choice in marriage, but she had chosen what to do with it. History would not remember her as a victim. It would remember her as the woman who turned surrender into stability. The princess given to the enemy king. The bride who was meant to symbolize defeat. Instead, she became the bridge between kingdoms. And sometimes, that is the greatest power of all.